can see horribly bright. Oh. Welcome. Welcome back to another live. Live from the Norwegian woods. Once again, I'm your host, Ulf Hawkins Gray from whitewolfalchemy.com. And in this video, as always, we will talk about twin flames, soul connections, soul to soul connection. And the description didn't want to follow me from my first attempt, which ended up being vertical. But disconnection is the reason for these soul to soul connections going into separation or ending. Sometimes these soul to soul connections against popular twin flame narrative end. And when they do, it is disconnection that is the culprit. It is disconnection that is the reason for the two of them no longer being in alignment, no longer vibing together. And then you could go into all the reasons why they disconnect. Most often fear, different attachment styles. You usually have one anxious, attached chaser. Then you have one dismissive avoidant or fearful avoidant, one or the two. And the beginning is very, very honeymoon phase, very, very beautiful, the bubble love. And it just feels like only the two of them standing at the source of creation, creating their own universe together, creating their own beauty and harmonizing from blueprint on a soul to soul frequency level. It's beautiful, absolute magic. But then the attachment styles come creeping in. The core trauma, the core wounding, and then disharmony ensues, power struggles, which is basically just both of them wanting to feel safe, wanting to feel safe to love, feel safe to attach and connect. And because they don't feel safe, they allow these attachment styles to swallow them whole. And the chaser begins to obsess. The runner begins to pull away, wanting independence, wanting their individuality, their independent expression of self to be at the front row, be all that they have, because they feel swallowed by the union, by the connection. It's like their identity gets dissolved by the alchemy, and dissolution is the absolute most terrifying thing to someone with an avoidant attachment style, whether it's fearful or dismissive. In those spaces where their identity dissolves, they experience crisis from a psychological standpoint. It's like a dark night of the soul, absolutely horrible. but something that they need and something that they should go through in order to become spiritually mature beings. Um, the anxious attached, the chaser, however, absolutely loves disillusion, loves having their boundaries dissolve, loves meshing and getting lost in the other, all that romantic fluff. They, oh, if only we could become one, and so they're amplifying that to the nth degree, while the runner then you know begins to pull away more and more, because while they might enjoy this exalted state of consciousness and being one with the divine, which is absolutely beautiful to them as well, it's this other person that they're also connected to, which in the beginning, of course, feels divine as well, recognition, um, soul to soul alignment, all that beautiful stuff. But the ego, you know, um, begins to feel swallowed whole. It begins to pull away and want to be back in control. There's no control in an exalted state of consciousness. It's like a psychedelic. You're you're just up there in vibration and frequency and in consciousness, and um, all you have is all you are, what you've brought with you of fears, of wounding, of trauma, of belief systems and filters, and so on and so forth. Um, so it's um, it's in the cards, it's that they will both experience what they fear the most in this connection. And they will produce what they fear the most, because you produce your fears from your belief systems. Your belief systems will always be produced. So you will be proven right about what it is that you believe, even if you're wrong. Even if it's a wrongful belief system, you'll still be proven right. So it's quite the funky acid test. And so they produce what they fear the most. The runner will run away and leave the chaser there to face their attachment style, their neediness, their wanting to enmesh and belong and be loved and love, and be a devotee of the beloved, all that stuff, all that romantic, mystical love stuff, like every poem ever written by Rumi and Hafiz and these mystics in their devotion to God and devotion to the beloved came from such an anxious, attached attachment style. So, it goes to say that this is quite overwhelming for the dismissive avoidant and the fearful avoidant. Um, so, in this disconnection, you know, in their fearful state, they are no longer in their blueprint. And because they are no longer in their blueprint, they are no longer in alignment. So, however which way they navigate, they are forced to go back to self and their true state, their true frequency, their divine blueprint, in order to come back together. Hence why the separation kind of happens. But sometimes in separation, it is it is for good. Sometimes separation means the end. So it behooves you to um, figure out if this a connection that you want. Is this a connection that you um, want to maintain? Then I will give you some clues on how you can maintain that connection. The way that I have maintained this connection, because I wanted it and because she wanted it. And it takes two to want it. That's the main thing. If just one of you realize, this is not the connection I want, the soul contract could be null and void. If there's abuse, it's null and void. If it's awful, awful, awful energy, things that were said in the heat of argument that can never be taken back, actions that go against the initial soul contract, abuse of any kind, the soul contract is null and void. And a new contract could be made upon choice, upon frequency, and upon alignment. And you could easily call that in, like I call in a new soul connection, I call in a new twin flame. This label is just so misleading. I call in a new multi-dimensional expression of the oversoul in another avatar, and boom, you know. This connection and the way that we can connect like this is in no way limited to one person. It is expansive. It is limitless, like source itself. It is multidimensional, multifaceted, and like a diamond, you know. So you could switch timelines. You could make different choices based upon your timeline options, and go in pursuit of different realities, different outcomes, different twin flames, different expressions of your divine blueprint. Like, let's say you are like me and you're multi-talented. You could, focus on your authorship. You could focus on your art. You could focus on your music, your poetry. Um, you could choose any one direction. Maybe you focus on parenthood, like I am currently doing. Maybe you want to do the mission template, because we have a mission template as twin flames or graduate souls, as emissaries of this consciousness that we hold, this frequency, this unique frequency. You could go, want to be a monk up in a monastery and devote your entire life to your spirituality. You could go into plant medicine mentorship, whatever it might be, whichever direction feels right for you. And each timeline, would hold a different destiny for you. It's like you're like a tree, and on every one of these branches there's a different you, a different parallel reality where you make different choices, where and you could choose any one of these, all depending on the choices you make, which will then align you further into weaving your web of destiny, so to speak. So we can rewrite our stars as graduate souls. Are you kidding me? We can um, truly, truly create any kind of reality that it is that we prefer. And if you are too doing that, woohoo, the power that you hold, it's infinite infinities when you are two graduate beings. When you're one graduate soul, you have infinity of you have infinite potential. But when you are two graduate souls, you're looking at infinity into infinity of potential, of possibilities, of timelines and destinies, all depending on whatever choice you would make, because there are no belief systems limiting you anymore, because you've tested out your beliefs and cleared those that didn't hold the acid test. So you're no longer dependent on anything external to gratify you. You got source creation, source creative energy, source intelligence, and you got this soul to soul connection, this other graduate soul standing right there with you. No angels, no ascended masters, no, you don't go through any one of these. You're not praying to, you're just connecting straight up with the divine. So you're not, you're not begging, you're not on your knees, you're not a devotee, you're not surrendering, you're not, um, you know, you're not a child of God anymore. You are a co-creator, which means you're in your divine parenthood, as opposed to um, the children of God, which are in need of spiritual maturity. So that's a vast, vast difference. When you have that kind of confidence, you have that kind of knowing, you have that kind of faith and trust in the divine, in the co creatorship that you hold, in the blueprint that you are, you know, it's like you can't go back. You can't go back to these spiritual sandboxes anymore. These toys that they are playing with are not fulfilling. All right, you can occasionally pick up a good book and read it, or pick up the tarot cards or the oracle cards, and let's have some fun with the higher self and with the universe here. But you're not relying on any of these tools for answers. You're not relying on any of these things for clarification. You're in alignment with source intelligence itself. So you're not outsourcing, you're not watching no gurus, or, doing any of that, unless it's like checking in with a collective consciousness. You're not looking at anyone for any answers anymore. That's the twin flame graduate. That's graduate beings. That's what we're here to do as twin flames, or uh, graduate souls. I prefer that term. Thank you, Mel. So if they're disconnecting in their connection, in their union, they've also lost connection to self and connection to the divine, and the exalted state of consciousness is kind of fading away. That mystical connection is fading away in favor of the ego. The ego and the mystical connection cannot, that's why you experience ego death in plant medicine and in these Kundalini based soul to soul connections. They cannot exist in the same frequency, in the same space at the same time. So once the ego returns, that mystical connection fades away, and so does the connection to the other, the connection to self. And all that remains is the ego telling you, oh my God, if they leave, I'll never be okay. I can't live on my own. I can't be without them. This kind of love. And the other one, the runner, is thinking, I can't get swallowed whole by this connection. I cannot, you know, I cannot get swallowed whole by this other person. I miss my freedom. I miss my independence, my identity. I need to be just me again. And the ego is tricky like that. And you need a strategy, not surrender. Surrendering to the divine and surrendering to the process, sure. But you can even, if you understand what's going on, if you find someone who can teach you a little bit and guide you, and you get to grips with what's going on, you could easily navigate this with will and with consciousness rather than surrender um, to the process, surrender to the separation or to the other. The will is a powerful creature. So, you have to connect with a willfully connect, not surrender. You have to willfully connect with each other, not take the connection for granted. You have to willfully connect to one another and to the divine and to your own soul and examine why your traumas are expressing themselves as these attachment styles, as a chaser and as a runner. You have to realize the chaser is also a runner. You're running from yourself, wanting to, thinking that love will save you. Love is the answer, when it clearly is not all there is. There's so much more to be experienced than just love. Love is beautiful, don't get me wrong. And your creativity, your creative expansion is key to remaining connected in these soul to soul connections. If you're not doing anything creative, if you're not expressing yourself creatively, your connection will dwindle down the drain. Absolutely. Absolutely. You have to be creative. The creative spark and your creative ingenious and creative endeavors was probably what connected you in the first place. In the beginning, you were probably expressing yourselves creatively, the both of you, and then in came the ego again, and probably some either competition or fear or feelings of lack or not feeling good enough. Um, these kinds of things. The ego is the one that ruins it all, to be honest. And your ideas of identity, your ideas of love, your ideas of relationship, your ideas of the divine, all of these things coming from the ego just ruins the whole connection and disconnects you. And so, meditation is absolute key. Creative expansion and creative expression is key. And creating by yourselves and then creating together. If you're always together, always creating together, you're going to lose yourself. You're going to lose your own voice. So you have to do things apart. You have to cultivate your aloneness as well as cultivating union. So it's a very balancing act, all of it. Uh, but disconnection begins with you disconnecting from yourself and being an ego. And then when you're in ego and you're disconnected from yourself, you'll disconnect from the divine and the other. So, in order to connect with the other again, you'll have to go in search of that connection to self, to the divine, and then connect with the other. So, we can never really leave out the divine in these connections because it's the divine union. Once you leave the divine out of it, you leave out the spiritual aspect, the mystical aspect, then the mystical aspect will leave you. So it's a cultivation that needs to occur, a cultivation of consciousness, of spirituality, together in the same way that you experience the exalted state of consciousness, a mystical union with God together. You know, God, the divine. I prefer creator or source myself, but to get through to the many, God seems to be the word. So, yeah. I hope this video assisted you, and I have plenty of free material around here on my YouTube, up on our website. And if you should need assistance with your specific um, challenges and individual union, I would love to assist you. I would love to. I love seeing these connections flourish. I love, and it's rare. It's even more rare now that you have a lot of nonsense out there, um, and toxic teachers and stuff too, like we've seen on Netflix. You know, it's but it's wise if if you find someone that you resonate with and you vibe with, it is possible to change um, how you're experiencing your union and your connection. It is fully possible to change that for the better. The solo journey should be absolutely phenomenal in and of itself. If you're doing the alchemy process right, then you should be in no need of a romantic connection. The mystical connection that you can get from a solo journey on this twin flame ride is above and beyond any regular relationship. That's for sure. So if your solo journey is not feeling good, if it's not fulfilling to you, then I would love to assist you with your solo expansion and mystical connection with the divine. Thank you so much for watching this video. Go sign up on uh, whitewolfalchemy.com for our forum where you can interact with others on this path and exchange experiences and grow. Yeah. Thank you so much. Have a beautiful now. Let's see how we turn off this thing. Dun, 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 dun. Yeah.